All right, that's basically a timeline in terms of how we got to this point, in terms of where we are. I want to take you now shortly to Nkandla, where our colleague Ayanda Mhlongo, we've got a number of colleagues there, Ayanda Mhlongo, Samkele Maseko is live there, as well as Simphiwe Makhanya. Let's bring in Ayanda Mhlongo and Simphiwe Makhanya into this conversation. Ayanda, to you first. What is happening where you are this morning?
Very good morning to you, Blaine, and good morning to our viewers. Well, we are outside the home of the former president. It's day 4 now that we have been here, and just from this morning we're already starting to see that it's going to be a hub of activity here outside the home of the former president. ANC members are slowly trickling in. Of course, we also have the members of Nkandla Military Veterans Association that are constantly standing guard here outside the home of the former president. Of course, they have been here since February, playing camping outside the home day and night. They are at this gate, ensuring that they are there to protect, as they've been saying, and defend the former president. This morning, we have seen who we believe to be some of the members of, or the leaders rather, of the ANC in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. I had a chat to the spokesperson, or rather the secretary of the ANC, Mdumiseni Ntuli. He said he is on his way to Nkandla together with the chairperson of the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal, Sihle Zikalala, who are here to meet with the former president. In fact, Blaine, I should have actually started with that, because over the past couple of days, South Africans have been asking, where is former President Jacob Zuma? His family was saying he's somewhere in South Africa. As the days continued, we then learned that he was in KwaZulu-Natal, but now we can tell our viewers that former President Jacob Zuma is back at home. We are told he returned back home last night, and so these leaders of the ANC, of course, are here today to meet with the former president for the first time since that constitutional court ruling, which then effectively sentenced him to 15 months in prison. As you said, of course, today on the ground, we are not alone. My colleague Simphiwe Makhanya is just left us a little bit, and he's just going to give us a sense of what is happening around Nkandla. A lot of interest from local community members, of course, people from outside the province of KwaZulu-Natal having descended on Nkandla. So Simphiwe will have you covered there. And close to me now is my colleague Samkele Maseko. Yesterday, Samkele was at the Pietermaritzburg High Court for us, where the legal team, the former president's legal team, had filed an application with the Pietermaritzburg High Court, where they're seeking to stay his arrest. But also, most importantly, was what was happening at the Constitutional Court, where, of course, the former president has also there filed an application with the Constitutional Court, seeking them to review their judgment. Let me bring in my colleague now, Samkele Maseko. Sam, very, very important day, I suppose, today. A lot that we're expecting to happen this morning. Let's firstly recap a little bit on what took place yesterday. We've over the past couple of days been waiting for what was going to be the former president's next move. We now know he has filed these 2 applications in the Constitutional Court and in the Pietermaritzburg High Court. Just take our viewers back on what are these applications about.
Essentially, and the former president has applied to the Constitutional Court for the rescission of that particular judgment that sentenced him to 15 months imprisonment at the Durban Westville Correctional Services Center, where the former president is expected to begin his sentence on Sunday. That's when he filed those papers yesterday, also aligning himself to the minority judgment of Justice Theron and Justice Jafta, saying that the court must not see this application as an attempt to erode the authority of the judiciary and of the Constitutional Court. He is just seeking a less punitive measure from this court, that this may not be a corrective justice decision that has been taken, as he has got ill health, and the minute he steps into that prison, that will hamper him and that will ultimately affect his health condition. He also went on to speak about how he did not basically walk out of the State Capture Commission of Inquiry, but he instead went out to take his medication. So the former president is essentially seeking for a reversal of that particular decision by the Constitutional Court, using the Court Act Rule 42 of it on the recession of the Constitutional Court judgment. Then there is a two-pronged approach by the former president, where he has also applied to the Pietermaritzburg Regional High Court for a stay of execution of the arrest and interdicting the Minister of Police, Begicele, who's also been deployed by the ANC to come and mediate this standoff that is currently happening here in this most famous village post-1994 after Kunu of former president, late President Nelson Mandela. So essentially, this two-pronged approach by the former president is also met by an approach by the governing party to have senior leaders of the ANC coming to negotiate with the former president. But we've been told that those NEC deployees have been told to stay put, whilst the provincial secretary that you've spoken about, Mtumseni Ntule, and the provincial chairperson, Sihle Zigalala, and also the regional chairperson of former President Zuma's region, Musa Dladla region, where we are currently at Mhlongo, we've seen his convoy also going in to try and negotiate with the former president in the marathon of meetings that are going to take place during the course of the day. But to just cut it short, the former president has a two-pronged approach: the Constitutional Court for the rescission of the decision, and also an application for the stay of execution of the arrest on Sunday at the Pietermaritzburg Regional High Court, which will be ventilated in court on Tuesday.
Sam, I'm just looking at the statement that was issued yesterday, or rather communique that was issued yesterday by the Deputy Secretary General of the ANC nationally, Jessie Duarte, where she named the leaders or the NEC members of the ANC that are going to be deployed here to the province of KwaZulu-Natal. And I see there Nosiviwe Maphisa Nqagula. Let me just name these a few NEC members: Nosiviwe Maphisa Nqagula, Ayanda Mhlongo, Begicele. We also know that they form part of the security cluster. And I suppose the ANC is not just looking at this as them being here as ANC members. This is also a state matter now. It's a matter of national importance. The situation that is unfolding here is threatening. There are already those that are saying that there is going to be instability and violence. Just speak about these three. They are ministers, part of the security cluster, but they also happen, of course, to be part of the ANC's NEC.
Not just those two, we've also have Thabang Makwetla there, who's the Deputy Minister of Military Veterans and Association, and SANDF, who's also part of this delegation. So the ANC is in essence postponed its National Executive Committee meeting, which was supposed to begin this morning at 10 o'clock. That's now been postponed. They are seeing this as a national crisis and a national security threat, which needs to be dealt with firstly from an ANC perspective before government comes in. But also you've had the Minister of Police, Begicele, who did come here earlier on during the course of the year, where he was stopped by those MVA members from going in until a directive, as we had reported, one of the VIP protection services of the former president had to come and usher in the Minister of Police. He's also got a conundrum that he was here to drink tea and have a conversation with the former president. The details of that meeting were never communicated. It was just a meeting they had, and Begicele went on to report to the ANC's top 6 leadership on that meeting he had with the former president. Now with the Constitutional Court judgment with the former acting Chief Justice Khampempe, who effectively directed that should the former president refuse to hand himself in at a correctional services facility at the Westville prison by Sunday, on Tuesday, on Monday rather, the Minister of Police and the Police Commissioner Khehla Sithole have a directive to make sure in all means necessary within the Constitution that the former president reports to a correctional services facility, which would automatically mean an arrest. Now that would cause a political storm, not only for the province of KwaZulu-Natal, but for the national leadership of the African National Congress, as there are already views that the judiciary is captured by certain segments of factions within the governing party. Even in the papers that the former president would release to the media criticizing the judiciary, would say that there are certain judges whom are fighting political battles. And even with the Constitutional Court judgment, his political detractors are celebrating out of that constitutional court judgment. So essentially it puts the judiciary in a hard spot, and it also places the President of the Republic of South Africa and the President of the ANC in a difficult situation where he will be viewed as someone who's jailed his comrade and jailed a former president of the African National Congress whom he succeeded.
Certainly, Samkele, very, very difficult one for the ANC, especially for the leaders of the ANC here in KwaZulu-Natal, who have, I think, over the past several months been trying their best to negotiate with the former president. And I do remember a time where the Secretary, Mtumseni Ntuli, had in fact said that they were meeting on a regular basis with the chairperson of the ANC, Sihle Zikalala. And at the time, it was to try and encourage the former president to appear before the Zondo Commission to avert a situation like this. So it's going to be interesting what is going to come out of that meeting, whether or not the former president is going to give them an ear. It seems, though, that the relations between them, Sam, have broken down. I mean, the fact that this is not the first time that they're coming to meet with the former president. In fact, I suppose, would it be fair for us to say, to beg him really, to say, work with the authorities to try and avert a situation that could be catastrophic for the province and for the country?
Is there a relationship to even begin with between the former president and the current leadership of the African National Congress, in particular the top six? I would beg to differ, because if you were to listen to those leaked recordings of that interaction and the transcripts that we've also been sent, that were leaked, of what the former president said to the ANC top six, in essentially saying that they were told to come and meet the former president and try rein him in, and he told them that they are essentially trying to show their masters that they can call him in and rein him in that interaction that he had with the former president, where he actually snubbed them at Luthuli House on the 11th hour and told them, no, we won't have a person-to-person meeting, we'll actually meet via Zoom, where subsequently those audio recordings were then leaked. It essentially tells you that the relations between this leadership of the African National Congress at a national level and this provincial leadership of the ANC in the province, they don't have such a nice or cozy relationship as we've seen yesteryear with the leadership under former President Zuma of the African National Congress and the leadership of the ANC in the province.
Sam, thank you. We certainly got a lot to talk about and unpack as the day progresses. A lot more that is still going to be happening here outside the home of the former president, which we'll speak to as the day progresses. Sam, you're just indicating there's someone coming in at the moment. It's a bit difficult to see when these vehicles come through, because some of them, the windows are tinted, and so we can't really see. We're relying on number plates and us as journalists having seen the vehicles, but it's a bit, we've seen another vehicle coming in. We can't be sure as to who that is. But of course, myself, Samkele, Maseko, we are here on the ground. It's not just us, as I said when we first started. My colleague Simphiwe Makhanya is also on the ground in Nkandla. So let's cross to him.
Well, thank you very much, Ayanda there, and my colleague Samkele Maseko for laying the ground really in terms of what hasn't transpired up to now and also what we expect to happen. Where we are, Ayanda, myself and Dabezinhle Khumalo, it's relatively calm. I'm going to be showing you the beautiful visuals of this rural village of Nkandla, which has become really a talk for many people in the country since the news of that Constitutional Court ruling came a few days ago. Of course, we know that time is running out for the former president to comply with that Constitutional Court ruling, that he has to hand himself over to law enforcement authorities, with tomorrow being the last day. And of course, in terms of the way forward, Ayanda and Samkele, we know that the president had said via the Jacob Zuma Foundation that he will be addressing the nation tomorrow with regards to what we can expect going forward. But these legal decisions or legal avenues that he's still trying, to embark upon to avoid spending time in jail. We are going to wait patiently to see if indeed they will be able to assist him avoid jail. But some legal analysts, Ayanda and Samkele, have been saying that if he chooses, as it has been reported, to approach the Pietermaritzburg High Court and to have his arrest stayed, it's going to be a question of is the Pietermaritzburg High Court really, in a position to make a ruling on that particular aspect, bearing in mind, of course, that that instruction came from the highest court in the land, which is the Constitutional Court. In terms of the support today, Ayanda and Samkele, we are expecting a group of Amabuto who have been, visiting this rural village of Nkandla to show support to the former president, and of course together with the leadership of the African National Congress here in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. For now, we're going to hand over back to studio in Johannesburg, Blaine.
All right, Ayanda Mhlongo, Simphiwe, Makhanya, as well as Samkele, Maseko, the better minds working the story there in Nkandla. Stand by for more live reports from them.